Yeah, start with your name and position. Looking at the issue of environmental protection, we sing the song climate change, but many times we take it for granted. How do we protect this environment amidst human demands for natural resource use?
Thank you so much. My name is Saddam. I work for Rice West Nile as a consortium project coordinator for the project strengthening environmental accountability and climate action in West Nile. Thank you so much for the question. Climate change, there are so many avenues that we can take into consideration to fight climate change. One of them is tree growing. Tree growing is one of the key interventions that we can embrace as communities to fight climate change, because it contributes to the biggest percentage to carbon sequestration, and it also contributes to the rainfall in our communities. That is one key thing the communities use for agriculture. Most of our communities are rainfall fed communities. So if the rate at which the rainfall received in our communities is not adequate, it affects their livelihood. And then the other key aspect of fighting climate change is, of course, stopping some practices like bush burning. Bush burning contributes the biggest percentage to environmental degradation, and it contributes very high to climate change because it releases a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which contributes to the release of greenhouse gases, resulting to climate change that we are experiencing today. And if we stop bush burning, that will be one great key things that can fight climate change. And the number of interventions that we can carry to stop climate change, especially avoiding overgrazing. When you graze too many heads of cattle in a very small piece of land, that means a lot of methane gas will be produced, greenhouse gas will be produced by those animals, and this contributes to climate change. So it should be a few animals that should be kept at least in a reasonable piece of land, and it should be rotational. They should not be grazed on the same piece of land for a very long period of time. There should be some time that should be given for the trees, for the grass to regenerate. That will be a very good thing that the community should embrace and fight climate change. There are a number of things that you can talk about when it comes to climate change. It's really very, very broad thing. Yeah.
Let's look at the aspect of growing a tree. Many times we have seen NGOs come in play that we have a project to plant trees, but after planting the tree, this tree is not grown, and at the end the survival rate out of 1,000, maybe even not half of them survive. Can you take us through the process of growing a tree?
Thank you so much. Tree growing has steps, and for a tree to grow, there is a need for consistency to follow the silvicultural management practices. When I talk about silvicultural management practices, I'm talking about the processes that should be taken into consideration, from land preparation, from pitting to planting, and then routine bush clearance. And even when it comes to dry season, you know very well that those people who venture into hunting, especially during the dry season, they are tempted to set the bush ablaze, and in an event you realize that the fire will go into the forest land and the trees will be burnt. So this person who is growing a tree, when it reaches that period, should be able to create what we call a fire line across the perimeter of the garden where trees are planted. And from time to time, in an event that the moisture content realized is not enough for the tree to grow, this person should be deliberate to ensure that there is a provision for irrigation. And then there should also be routine pruning of these trees for a long period of time of at least 5 to 10 years. That is when we can realize a high survival rate for trees. Less of that, we cannot really ensure that trees grow to the expectation. The survival rate will always be less than 80%. Yeah, that is what it takes for a tree to grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of our farmers clear a lot of land for farming. They forget the fact that the trees they have destroyed, contribute to, our rainfalls. How do we practice climate smart agriculture?
Climate smart agriculture is a very good intervention to fight climate change. And it is a very smart way of venturing into farming. One is you will realize high crop yields, and two, you will even protect the environment from degradation and fight climate change at the same time. Why we always tell our communities to ensure that as they are opening chunks of land to grow trees, they should not cut the whole tree. They should only prune the branches and then plant the crops amidst the trees that are planted, so that we do not lose that tree, have the tree to protect the environment or fight climate change, at the same time have our crops grown in the garden. And that is one key aspect of climate smart agriculture. And then the other is we also embrace our communities. We also request our communities to embrace agroforestry. When you talk about agroforestry, we are talking about growing crops alongside trees in the same piece of land. Yeah, and that will one contribute to fighting climate change and also sequestration of carbon in the atmosphere and also increase of crop yields. And then some better methods of farming like crop rotation, planting different types of crop on the same piece of land in different seasons. That also is one aspect of climate smart agriculture. And then also planting drought resistant crops. Much as climate changes with us, we know it is with us, and that is one of the adaptation strategies to climate change: planting resistant crops and then quick growing crop species. That will be a one way of venturing to climate smart agriculture. And then we also embrace irrigation. Irrigation is one way our communities should look at when we are in a space of climate change, experiencing climate change like this. We'll be able to get our expected returns from the crops that we grow.
Rice West Nile is doing, specifically in the aspect of strengthening environmental accountability?
There are a number of activities that we do under this project of strengthening environmental accountability and climate action in West Nile. One of the key activities is awareness raising. Under awareness raising, we have a number of activities. One of them are community dialogues on climate change issues affecting the communities. We dialogue with the communities on how those issues can be addressed and who are the key stakeholders responsible for ensuring that those issues, action points developed during the dialogues can be followed up for implementation. And then we also have radio talk shows that we do conduct to ensure that we raise awareness to our people. We sensitize them about the various pertinent environmental issues affecting them. Yeah. And then we also have a component of broadcasting pre-recorded messages. We have our community structures that are onboarded under this project. We call them climate action champions. They help in liaison between the communities, the implementing partners, and the duty bearers. These climate action champions are given tools for working, special bicycles, and the public address systems, which comes with the flash drives. Those flash drives, the messages of climate change advocacy and environmental protection are bound on these flash drives. And then they use them, those pre-recorded messages, to be broadcasted in strategic locations, especially landing sites, trading centers, markets, particularly places where people do not have access or the opportunity to attend to the dialogues, opportunity to listen to the radio talk show. They will have the opportunity to hear those messages, and it will be very deliberate in the sense that it will be done in an organized way, led by a local leader, particularly the earliest one, organizing the people, especially on the landing side, to pay attention to the message being played, and then they will be given session to share their opinions on what they have heard and the action points, the issues that emerged in the discussion will be taken to another level for advocacy. Yeah, awareness raising is one of them, and then two, the other key project objective of fighting climate change or strengthening environmental accountability is strengthening the implementation of the environmental regulatory frameworks, and this component is being supported by the district leaders, the sub-county leaders, where there is a component of supporting leaders to carry out compliance, monitoring, and enforcement to ensure that the environment is safeguarded from degradation from the communities. And then there is the third component of this project, that is increased alternative livelihood to the natural resource dependent communities. Right now, the district leaders in support of West Nile, they are carrying out profiling of the existing livelihood opportunities in Obongi, and the reason is we need to know all these existing livelihood opportunities from private sector, from local government, and the CSO, so that we can link our natural resource dependent communities to these alternative livelihood opportunities to reduce dependence on the natural resources. These are the basic three key objectives of the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Your name once again?
My name is Mokili Saddam. I work for Rice West Nile as a consortium project coordinator for the project Strengthening Environmental Accountability and Climate Action in West Nile.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Mzema Henry Pastore. I'm the acting district natural resources officer of Obongi. The current environmental challenges we have in the district are quite numerous, but the one key is the challenge of climate change. We are experiencing this challenge, and the challenge comes in so many forms. Sometimes we receive too much rain, and if too much rain is received, because our area is a low-lying area, we experience floods. And at times we receive irregular rain for some extended period that lead to drought. This has impact on our communities because our communities are rain-fed communities. They do their agriculture depending on the rain. And also the other challenge we have is the degradation of forest cover. This is because we are hosting quite huge number of refugees. And because of that, there is pressure for the demand for the biomass energy is very high, and of course we all rely on firewood, and we rely on charcoal for making our food, and this has a bearing on the environment. Now if you go to the two sub-counties in the district, that is Palauring and Intula, these areas are highly degraded because of the large influx of the refugee. We have over 136 refugees, 36,000 refugees who are staying here within those two sub-counties, and they place significant impact on the environment in terms of demand for firewood. We also have the challenge of unsustainable use of the natural resources. Things like land, you know, our land is getting degraded because of intensive use. Because now in the two sub-counties, land has become inadequate. As a district, we try to do quite a number of interventions. One of the things is we encourage our communities to participate in environment restoration programs. One program that we promote is tree growing. Every year, we get a tree from the central nursery, which is managed by NFA, and we provide these tree seedlings to our communities who are interested in tree growing. And through that, we are trying to restore our degraded environment. We also create awareness basically on climate change. We enlighten the community about the triggers of this climate change and what they can do in order to adapt to the effects of climate change and the mitigation measures they can put in place. So such trainings at least helping them to have more understanding about climate change. You know, climate change for us here is a new thing and people are not aware about the causes. So that one is trying to help. We have NGOs also who are coming, like the Rise West Nile. These NGOs are coming to supplement on our effort. You know, in the district we have Environment and Natural Resource Committee, but these committees, their functionality has been a bit challenging. But now with the support of Rise West Nile, we are able to now make this structure functional. We do our quarterly meetings, and in this meeting we discuss the issues that affect the environment, and we come up with the way forward, what we can do in order to address the challenges that we are facing. And also they help us now to have more dialogue with the communities. You know, because of limited funding, our activity with the communities are few, but now through the effort of the partners, we have more frequent engagement with the community. And in this engagement, we tell the community about alternative livelihood activities that they can take in order to protect and conserve the environment. So coming as supplementing the effort of government that we already implemented.
What is the current natural cover of Obongi, and how much of this has been depleted?
The current forest cover in Obongi, we have not done detailed studies, but if you compare the national degradation of forest cover with what we are losing here, our rate is above 3%, which is the rate for the national forest loss. For us, our cover is above that. The loss of forest cover is above that.
How much has the district managed to allocate for natural resources management? Because many districts have meager funding for this department.
Let me say, for recurrent activities, we have around 60 million for the whole year for natural resources department. This is not inclusive of wages. I put wages aside. These are funds that is available for implementing activities for this financial year, and these funds come from different sources. We have local raised revenue, we have a sector conditional grant, then we have sector unconditional grant, including DDEG. So in a year, around 60 million is what is available for natural resources.
What would be adequate? This money is not enough.
Yeah, this money, you know, environment is quite broad. We have quite a number of things that we are supposed to do. And we think if government could come in and increase the funding for natural resources, like they have to double what we are currently having. That could somehow help us address some of the core needs that we are supposed to deliver.
What percentage is allocated particularly for environment?
Percentage, I've noted, but it will not go more than 5% of the budget which is allocated for the district.
Okay, something we are coming to plant trees, or we are coming to grow trees. Can you tell us a little? Many people don't know about growing a tree, or planting and growing a tree. They only plant and leave the tree. Many of these trees have not survived. How can we plant but also grow a tree?
Yeah, you know, it is unfortunate most of the interventions, especially of the partners, are short term. Maybe 1 year they go away, but you know, tree growing is a long-term intervention. It needs maybe 10 years. So that means if a person is engaged in tree growing, that person should also get involved in management. Each year you have to manage the trees. As they grow up, you have to prune it. You have to open the fire line. You have to clear the bush that is growing. By doing that, you will be able to grow the tree. But if the intervention is short time, and within the short time, no other activities ongoing, of course, the survival rate will be very low. Yeah. You know, we measure the survival of a tree. If it is above 80%, that one we say it is good. If you plant the 10, at least 80 have survived. That is quite good. But now, if you just plant and then you abandon it without making sure that these trees grow, then your survival rate will be very low. That is the challenge we are facing. It means any farmer who is engaged in tree growing must be well prepared, and it is an intervention that needs quite a long period of time, like 10 years, so that the tree establishes itself and it can even sustain itself.
The issue of environment generally, including climate change, what has been the interventions as the district, but as a politician, a lot lies in your hands in sensitization, talking to the people when it comes to issues of climate.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Okunzi Buis Drale, the district vice chairperson LDC5, secretary for finance, planning and administration. As in matters of environment, as a district, we have got so many interventions from the government and from the various partners in development, partners like Rise West Nile, LWF, APO, the local based organization, and so on. They have been in support to make sure that we conserve our environment by engaging the community members in various programs. Like in the government has ensured that the livelihood of the community members of the district will be improved through the provision of Paris development model, whereby there are groups who are engaged in farming, apiary farming, skilling, and so on. All these interventions are put in place to see that we really conserve our environment as an alternative source of income and as an alternative of conserving the environment. Then we also have support from the partners, whereby they organize for some community sensitization, majorly in relation to the importance of conserving our environment, and also in relation to the impact if it is degraded or the trees are depleted. So those interventions are all put in place to improve our environment and to conserve it. Then also I want to appreciate Rise West Nile. They have taken our selected community members through training on environmental conservation, whereby in each sub-county at least 30 members of the community, that we call them climate champions, were trained on the importance of conserving the environment, and also they were given communication system, whereby they were given many radio system that whenever they are conducting some sensitization in relation to the environment, they go around to mobilize the community members to come for a meeting, and also they play some music where you send message to the community about the importance of conserving the environment. Besides that, we as a district also, we have faced a lot of challenges in relation to the environmental conservation. Truly that our environment has really been depleted, cope up with the influx of the refugees that we do have in the district. Our population of the district at the side of host community is around 60 and above thousand, Then the refugees, they have doubled our population. You know that much population has got some impact on the environment. We give some food ratio to our persons of concern, that's the refugees. But of course, we don't offer for them some alternative fuel or source of firewood that they will be using to cook what has been offered to them. So you realize they rely much on both the planted and the natural species that we do have. So when you move across the district, you realize this time around, most of our tree species were destroyed by the refugees. And of course, I'm not running away from also some few nationals who are also involved in doing this. Others practice this for timber, others do it for logging, some carry out charcoal businesses, and so on. But we have tried as much as possible to talk to them, to see how we can join hands to look at another alternative fuel source whereby they will be using it so that we save our environment by providing energy source of involvement so that they don't rely much on our tree species. And we also realize challenges of when it comes to mostly in the dry season, we register some challenges of bush burning by our community members. This has really affected us so drastically because we have both natural and planted tree species. Like in relation to the planted trees, under the recent concluded or under the Dr. D project through the Office of Environment and Natural Resources, we made sure that at least the community members were engaged to plant a good acreage of tree. But of course, our disappointment comes mostly when it comes to dry season, whereby due to some various reasons from some few community members, they end up setting the planted tree ablaze.
So as the politicians, what are you people doing towards that?
So now what we are trying to look at is, one, we shall not stop talking to them, shall keep on sensitizing the community about the dangers of burning the available tree species. And also, what we are trying to see is if we can come up with from lower local government to come up with the bylaws that can protect all of us and say that we conserve the environment at the district level. We need to come up with some bylaw and ordinances so that if you are caught involved in such kind of practices, you need to be brought into books of law and you need to be responsible for your actions.
We had many NGOs that districts because of in the names of planting trees, but many of these trees planted have not survived, or a few survived. What do you think has been the challenge, and how can we ensure we don't just plant trees but we grow them?
You know, one, indeed you are right. There are many partners that has been supporting us in implementing plantation of trees as in conserving our environment. But we realize mostly 2 to 3 things that really hinders this. One, the timing. Some of the partners do bring the seedlings or encourage the community to plant these trees at the wrong season, when it is almost coming to the end of rain season. So you realize the chances for the trees planted in such kind of period has a minimum chances of survival. So I really encourage, or I really look at that we need to really change the time of our planting of the seedlings. We need to have proper timing. This can be done in consultation with the our Office of Environment and also Office of maybe Agriculture, who are well versed with the situations, the seasons in this area. But of
Okay.
course, if we really just focus or we just bring to plant and whereby we plan for the sake of accountability, of course, those are the challenges that we shall always be registered.
Last two questions. If you look at the Strengthening Environmental Accountability Project, how has this contributed, especially the one RICE is implementing? Lastly, we have families in Obongi here, even in the refugee settlement. You see a house standing without any tree around. What advice can you give such families, yet they can grow fruit trees around and other trees, as an example?
When it comes to environmental conservation, it is all of us mandate to really contribute in conserving the environment. Especially we, the leaders, we need to be exemplary to the community members at our household levels or at our farmland. We should be in position to plant at least some number of tree species. So I encourage we, the key stakeholders, to be an exemplary to lead our community members. Secondly, also in relation to the conservation of the environment, you realize our persons of concern still have that, I call it a bad mindset, that they are not here permanent. This is not their home. So you realize at times they are given tree seedlings for plantation, but they take advantage of being nearer to the border point. Like for instance, these ones who come from these neighboring places called what? Morobo, Yei, and so on. Some of these seedlings are given to them, but instead of planting at household level or in the small piece of land offered to them, others tend to carry this to their home district, forgetting that environment contributes and helps all of us. Because the environmentalists say any tree seedling planted, even if it bears one leaflet, it contributes a lot to the conservation of the environment. So I still say we need to change our mode of reason or mindset that I'm here temporary, oh, this is not my home. That cannot help in terms of conserving the environment.
Especially the one RICE is doing, accountability, environmental accountability, strengthening it.
Like I mentioned earlier on, RICE really contributed so much in terms of conserving the environment. Because first of all, they decided to offer training to the local community members that we call Climate Champion Committee. And these are the very people who in turn also go around the community to train them on the importance of what? Conserving our environment. So by offering them that training that goes to the grassroots, that means they will not be practicing the bad practices that they have been doing, like bush burning, or cutting down trees anyhowly and so on. So I think they have really, they really have much impact in terms of conservation of the environment. And also as a district, we decided to go down to demarcate our buffer zones, just to also to protect our wetlands. We started with Paloronya sub-county. Implementing some of these environmental policies at times is quite challenging, but of course, nevertheless, we kept on talking to our community members by having some compliance meetings and so on. Not until they had to move away from the buffer zones, and now they were resettled away from the buffer zone. Like for instance, in Oyakamumi, whereby they were having some resistance, but now they have left where they then cross the buffer zone, they are now across the road, whereby they are even much even settled and enjoying than being even at the river bank or near the river points.
Okay.
So those are also some of the nani we have really.
Conclude with your name.
Okunze Louis Drale, the Vice Chairman LC5 for Obongi District Local Government.